Barnabas, was of Cyprus, but of Jewish descent. His death is supposed to have taken place about AD 73. And yet, notwithstanding all these continual persecutions and horrible punishments, the church daily increased, deeply rooted in the doctrine of the apostles and of men apostolical, and watered plenteously with the blood of saints.
Hey, Paul.
Hey, Steven.
We don't normally ask questions this early.
Yeah.
But I'm going to ask you a question this early.
I love it.
What's your favorite Disney movie?
You know what? You are not the first person today to ask me that question.
Weird. Oh. Okay.
That's crazy.
Name the person. Just kidding. Disney movie.
Name drop.
Charles Barkley.
What?
That was, for some reason, the first name that came to my head. I don't know.
Is that some kind of Freudian
Well,
slip?
now I'm thinking Space Jam.
Oh, nice.
But that's not a Disney movie.
Paramount?
Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers. Yeah, duh. Why did I say Paramount?
Well, when I initially started to say it, I didn't know who it was either.
Yeah.
But then I said Warner Brothers. I was like, yeah, duh. Because the Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
So forget about Warner Brothers. Disney.
Anyway, Disney. So,
Disney movie. Favorite Disney movie.
are we counting Pixar movies as well, like Disney Pixar? Or
yeah.
we are?
Well, I was going to say, like, so they're acquired now.
Yes.
So if you pick something they're acquiring.
Yeah, okay, so that movie won't
then
work. Because I would say, so growing up, Toy Story was my go-to.
Yeah.
Like, I love Toy Story.
For sure.
Even to this day.
It's great.
It's so quotable. But
Yeah.
pure Disney, I would say, and I know it's problematic.
Pure Disney.
It's problematic to say this one, probably.
Why?
Because it's the Aristocats.
I don't think that's problematic.
Well, because I know people they don't like some of the stuff, and they're like, oh, that's weird.
I think that's every Disney movie, though.
Probably. It's from an era. But I like it.
It is.
Because of the music, mostly.
Okay. I can see that. Isn't it set in France?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just like the music in it is great.
Yeah.
It's just got like a fun vibe to it.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, this is awesome. And I love just like the, I think probably it's like my spirit animal, old Thomas O'Malley.
Okay.
Because he's just like this.
I honestly don't know much about the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So he's the orange cat.
Okay.
Just like this. He's just out living his life.
Is that the one with the like,
we
are Siamese?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is the problematic song, actually.
I'm glad I brought it up.
Yeah, you pinpointed.
The only thing I know about it is what's wrong with it.
Yeah. Which honestly, I'm not surprised, actually.
Yeah, fair enough.
But the other ones that are close are like Robin Hood and the Jungle Book.
Jungle Book.
Those are up there for me.
Mowgli.
And I think I picked those versus like the main ones because everyone picks those. Okay. And I have to be weird.
Yeah, I understand.
But yeah, what about you? What would you say yours?
Honestly, probably one that, like, here's a tough thing. I'm also like showing my kids these.
So you're kind of reliving them.
Yeah, and the cool thing is like my oldest like really went through a phase where he wanted to only watch like 1950s Mickey.
Really?
Yeah, which was kind of cool.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah, so like, and then like we've gone back and watched all the early Peanuts stuff, Charlie Brown and things like that. So like that type of stuff is cool. But one that I've found that like I know a lot of the words to as if it's a song is Aladdin.
Oh, I forgot about Aladdin.
Like one of my favorite, like
Aladdin. Aladdin's up there.
I know one of the very like the scene that like really sticks in my head is when they at the beginning when he steals the bread.
Yeah,
and then they sit down, him and Abu.
Yeah,
they sit down and Abu. I don't know why I did that.
It's out of nowhere.
I've never done that before. But they sit down with the bread, and then he breaks it, and he's like, the spoil is like tied,
Yeah.
we just stole this. He gives it to him, and then of course they look up and there's like starving children in front of them, and he shares it with them. But the one that sears in my brain is Abu just goes into the bread, and it's a perfect circle out of the middle of the bread, and that's just like seared in my mind. It's like, I don't know how, I've never been able to do that before.
I've tried. Even like when people make the bites in like apples.
Yeah.
I've wanted to bite an apple like that.
But here's the thing. Abu's a monkey.
Yeah.
So his mouth protrudes forward a little bit. Yeah. So I think it allows that like perfect shape. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's...
Yeah.
I forgot about Aladdin. Aladdin is top 3 for me.
It's great.
Easily top 3.
I mean, it has like hidden treasure.
Yeah. It's got Robin Williams. Actually, it's funny. So I have only done one play in my life, like musical theater play.
And it was Aladdin?
No.
Okay. It's like, I don't think I've heard of that.
Beauty and the Beast.
Okay.
But for my audition for it, which was the first time I ever auditioned for a play.
Okay.
I did Friend Like Me, that's what it is.
Never have a friend, never have you ain't know. Never had a, that's the
that's when they're in the cave.
Yeah. That's right. That's a great one.
So I did that
and he
song.
tricks him into giving him a
and I was like,
wish.
I have no clue what I'm doing.
I love that.
During my audition, because I was like, I'm doing everything wrong, and I have no clue what.
That's an intense song to have to do.
Yeah, I don't know why I picked it.
Oh, you picked it?
I picked it, yeah.
Oh, I thought they picked it for you.
No, I was just like, yeah, that'll do it.
Should have done something from the Jungle Book.
That would have been cool.
Baloo?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
What about modern Disney? Like, are there any, like...
What era are we starting that from? Like, from Frozen on? Or not Frozen, sorry, from Tangled?
Is that a time point?
It is in my head.
Tangled?
Because isn't that like... That's like 2010, isn't it?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Because I feel like they
Tangled's
were silent.
Great, though,
they were silent for a while, and then they just came out with that movie.
They just all of a sudden had silent films?
In my head. Yeah, like, they didn't have like any movies coming out, and they're like, and here's Rapunzel now.
Oh, I guess I didn't realize that, but let's say
that's what it is in my head.
Okay.
So I could be completely wrong about that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, how often do you still watch new Disney movies?
Almost never.
Yeah.
I feel like if I'm going to watch a Disney movie, it's going to be one of the old ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's one that I've actually like really liked to go back and watch. And the funny thing is, like, because I like have 2 boys, like sometimes I'm like, okay, let's watch a movie all together, but I'm going to pick whichever one I feel like watching.
Yeah.
Because I also have to sit here and watch this.
Yeah. Like, we can't watch Rocky 4 again.
I don't know what to say. Yeah. So there's a couple that like I'll jump into, but one of them that I actually really like is a movie called Luca.
Oh yeah, actually I saw half of it.
Okay, which half?
The last half.
The middle half? I was gonna guess that. The last half of it. Yeah. Was that like you finished one movie and went to the next?
No, I walked in when someone else was watching it.
Did they go?
Oh, you know what?
You caught me watching Luca.
No. Can I watch the rest of this with you?
I want to see the rest of it.
You don't know the beginning. It does not matter to me.
Just let me see the West.
I don't know why you just attached that voice.
I don't. That's been a recent thing, apparently.
It's been coming back.
Yeah. No, I mean like in the podcast, like the last couple episodes.
Yeah, we just keep doing it.
No, you keep doing it.
That's true. I do it. I don't know why.
It's fun.
It is fun. No, you know actually which one is great is Coco.
Yeah,
there's also some weirdness.
Yes.
It's problematic. Absolutely, it is. But
it is a good one.
I found for me, I tend to attach them to the
So, Luca.
Yes.
I intentionally wanted to bring this movie up.
Yeah, please.
Do you understand the plot of Luca?
So basically, like a fish that wants to be a human?
Yeah, but a sea monster.
Oh, okay.
So it's like kind of a, like it's it's a sea monster. Like the town, Poderoso,
Oh.
is it's like a little Italian town, and they have lore around there being sea monsters.
Oh, cool.
But the thing you find out in Luca is that the sea monsters, when they come out and they dry off, they turn into humans.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is real weird.
Because there's a way. It's like as long as they're not touching water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like there's one scene where like the two boys like sleep outside and they wake up and they're trying to hide it from the people that they're sea monsters, and they wake up and like the rain or the dew had rested on them.
Oh, no
and
way.
so they're like, the girl opens the window and is like, "Good morning," and they look at each other and they're both sea monsters. And so they jump down and like dry off. Anyways,
that's crazy.
Have you ever heard the name Luca before?
I know someone who named their son Luca.
Okay, but do you know
but
what
outside
Luca,
of that, no.
You know what Luca is?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so Luca is not actually a name.
Oh.
It's an acronym.
Really?
Yes. I'm glad you have know nothing about this.
You're surprising me.
I was also surprised. So Luca is actually an old acronym, and it stands for Last Universal Common Ancestor. Luca is the hypothesized common ancestral cell from which the three domains of life, the bacteria, the archaea, and the eukarya, originated.
What?
The cell had a lipid bilayer. It possessed the genetic code in ribosomes, which translated from DNA or RNA to proteins. The Luca probably existed at least 3.6 billion years ago, and possibly had as early as 4.3 billion years ago or earlier. The nature of this point or stage of divergence remains a topic of research. So essentially, all earlier forms of life preceding this divergence and all existent organisms are generally thought to share common ancestry. So like,
no way.
Essentially, Luca is all of the necessary cells to create human life diverging together.
That's so crazy.
So it's the last universal common ancestor. So it's essentially all of these things.
Someone has to change their child's name.
Yeah. And
so the idea of like when they come out of the water, so the water would be like their primordial state, if you will. And then when they come out of it, they become human as like their evolutionary endpoint.
that's how the sea monsters.
Yeah, so like, is that what they're trying to? So did they invent the name Luca?
Yeah, these people did a long time ago.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
There's a lot more here that I'm just not going to read.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of words.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. But
whoa.
So I didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
And then I heard someone just like offhand mention it. Oh yeah, the like Luca. It's like, you know, the last universal common ancestor. And I was like, Luca.
You're just having that.
Wait
in
a
your
minute.
brain. Yeah. That's my favorite movie.
Disney?
But you mean they're doing suspicious things?
But then it got me thinking about like how all of the, it's like almost all of the Disney movies or a lot of children's stories, or it like all has roots in like true things.
Right.
That like this all is built off of that. So they thought like,
yeah,
okay, here's a sea monster that when it gets dry, it turns into a human. Let's name him Luca.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he's the last universal common ancestor.
Crazy.
And it's like, wait a minute.
Well, I mean, we see that even in like the Jungle Book.
Okay.
It's like
Tell
the
me.
song "I Want to Be Like You." It's like,
oh yeah,
yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, the monkey.
It's the
becoming
monkey
a boy.
who wants to become a human.
Yeah,
and he's saying, "Oh, if you just teach me these things, then I'll be able to evolve."
Pinocchio is a wooden boy without a soul.
That was the chair, and I hope they heard it. I never thought about that.
Well, I didn't know about it because that was
crazy.
That's the
It's the Mayan one, isn't it?
The flood Mayan myth, right?
Yeah, it was because of the wooden people with no souls.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But then he gets a soul.
Yeah. For being a good boy.
Well, because
I saw this one meme.
He wished to the fairy godmother.
Yeah, that's true.
Geppetto did.
Because he could prove he could be a real boy.
Yeah. Jiminy Cricket.
Jiminy Cricket.
Jiminy Cricket, Luca.
It's that. I think that's what's amazing to me, though, is again it goes into our topics of myths, where it's just all these things are attached to something.
Yeah,
and it's like what, and I think in a lot of ways what we call folklore and the made up stories still are based in the myths that are based on the telling of reality. Yeah,
I think it was a realization, like a massive realization to me, to go like, so nothing is completely out of thin air. Meaning,
right?
Like when I create something, when other people are creating things, when I'm watching that's something that they created, they're getting a lot of it from other places.
Yes.
It goes back to the conversation that we were having before, where like I don't think humans are that creative.
Right.
Like I think that they are creative, but I don't think humans typically originate things.
No, it seems like there's things. I mean, it's the question where it's like, who's the first guy who's like, let me eat that cow,
right?
Or hey, this egg, it just came out of this chicken. Let me eat it.
Yeah, that's a weird example, but yes.
Yeah, it is a weird. I kind of wanted it to be, but you know what I mean. It's like things like that. It's like I would never think of that.
Right.
If I just happened upon it, be like, gross.
Yeah.
Let me go on about my day.
Yeah, exactly.
But we know that, this is safe to eat and it's actually good for you.
Yeah.
It's like, well, how did we learn that?
Yeah. Yeah, but go beyond that and go to like even things that are invented, like patented and things like that. They talk about how like a lot of times, especially back when we couldn't communicate across the globe, they would see things being created within a couple of years across the planet that like those people had no interaction. It's like, how does that happen? It's like, well, everything is moving in this direction. Yeah. And it's just the it
just makes sense.
It's the natural next step.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the Luca moment. It's the, you know what I mean? It's like, like pulling out all of those things. So it's kind of in the air. It's like creation is moving in the form of things being realized.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of creation is creating.
Yeah.
It's like when God set the earth into motion, it just continued to create.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's through its creation or new things over time. You know what I mean?
That's so cool.
So it's kind of like throwing something out there and it gets...
It's kind of like what sci-fi is doing.
Yeah, yeah.
Where they're like, this is what I see the future developing into.
Right.
Based on what I see around me now.
Right. But it gets me to the point now where I'm like looking at everything and I'll see a movie or a work of art or something like that. And I'm like, all right, what is true in this story? Yeah. So like now Luca has like a lot of meaning to it. They probably didn't intend for that on the front end, but I'm sure that helped shape a lot of the story, and the name is clearly intentional. I mean, it's the title of the movie.
Yeah.
And it's the guy's name.
That's definitely what they were going
for. So it's like that was a main idea.
Yeah, so it's like someone must have read that and been like, that'd be cool to write a story about that.
Yeah, it could have been like a pitch of like what if as like they took like the evolution concept of cells coming out of the water. Yeah. And they took that and went, all right, well, what if humanity was already there, but there was some remnant of like last organisms that had not fully converted yet? What would that look like? And that's where you get like sea monsters.
That makes sense.
So then now there's lore of sea monsters, and it's like, well, the funny thing is like there's lore in that little town. Yeah. But they're actually there. Like those sea monsters exist. So
and that's like, wait, what?
Yeah. So then you go, well, like what?
That's
how
true.
It's like the idea of like, they say like life imitating art, but it's actually art imitating life.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think about, even based on, because our conversations, especially last week,
Yeah.
or last episode last week,
Yeah.
last episode was about language and how that shapes it's basically our way of how do we interpret what we experience.
Right.
Essentially, like, that was the point of it.
Yeah.
And how our language shapes how we interpret what we experience.
Yeah.
And so art is another language. I think about that even with music. Well, we'll stick with art. It's like within the different mediums, it's like there's different languages to explain what you see.
Yeah.
Or what you experience.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So like I think in general, one of the things that like as we're talking about myth, or even when you look at like lore and folklore and all these different storylines, it's like, well, there's something true in it.
Yeah.
And I think it's more interesting as you get older to look for what is true in it and go, where does that come from? And what were the original, was that the main purpose of telling this story?
Yeah.
Was like, hey, I want to get this story across. So let me shape it in a way that's palatable and rememberable. And memorable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah. So
actually,
Luca.
it's funny. I want to say this really quick because our martyr today was Barnabas.
Oh yeah.
This is loosely related.
Okay.
I think it's still related to our conversation now, which is making me think about it. And so I don't know if I actually told you this or if you know this.
Okay.
But there is a gospel of Barnabas.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There's actually a lot of gospels of different saints, we'll call them.
Yeah. There's pseudepigraphal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice word.
Thanks.
That's a good word.
I didn't make it up. It came from somewhere.
You could have and be like, I like it.
It's Greek, I believe.
And so what's funny is with that is, so we see that and we're like, oh, gospel according to Barnabas. Well, we see Barnabas in the New Testament. He's a significant figure.
Yeah.
And so shouldn't we pay attention to that? And it's like, well, we compare that to the other 4 gospels we have in our canon.
Yeah.
And so it's funny when we looking at, okay, what is true and what is not true,
right,
comparing it to what else we have.
True.
So in the Gospel of Barnabas, there's one thing in particular that makes me laugh every time I think about it.
Okay.
Read it. So there's a section in, it might have been, I don't know what chapter 13.
Okay.
I'm making that up. I don't know, somewhere in there.
Very specific.
Where we see, it says that Jesus hops on a boat in Galilee and sails to Nazareth.
Oh, that's where this one is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
We mentioned that in the
and it's funny, and I
episode 5 or something like that.
Oh, did we? Okay.
Yeah, the Matthew, the one where we talked about the landscape of Nazareth.
Okay, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned it offhand, but yeah.
Okay, cool. I couldn't remember if I had said it on the podcast, so I wanted to make sure, especially since we're doing Barnabas.
Yeah.
And it's funny. It's like that's one of the things when we look at stuff with a critical eye.
Right.
Because for those who don't know, Nazareth is a landlocked city, town, and there's no way you can sail to it, especially from Galilee.
No, because Galilee is on the eastern side, and Nazareth is across land to the closer to the Mediterranean, is on the western side.
Yeah.
And so the funny thing about that too is Galilee does have a river that flows in and out of it, and it flows from the mountains because all rivers flow from mountains. Which is definitely an episode.
Yes.
But the river that flows through Galilee is the Jordan River. So, and it flows down the Jordan Valley, which is the eastern border of Israel. And Nazareth is way over here.
It's all the way over here.
Yeah.
So that's an easy one for us to look at. Even when we're talking about Luca here, it's like things being drawn from reality. But it's like, okay, but is that real?
Yeah, because Barnabas definitely would have been have gone to the Sea of Galilee.
Yeah.
Galilee. The Sea of Galilee. But and he would have sailed on the sea.
Yeah.
But yeah. Also, Sea of Galilee is closer to a lake than you would imagine.
Yeah. But anyway, I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that too, especially in what we're talking about, because I thought it was fun.
That is pretty fun. So,
Luca,
comment below your favorite Disney movie. You can include Pixar. I'll forgive you.
After they require it.
Yeah, go look up when that was. Write that in there, and then add your Pixar movie.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. Ready?
Let's do it.
3, 2, 1. All right.
I had to warm up my snapper.
So I had an idea for this one.
Yeah.
So I have the basis of the music,
Okay.
but I felt like maybe we should, with some framework, write a song in real time.
That's
again,
cool. Yeah.
because we haven't done that in a bit.
I feel like we've come in more prepared.
Yeah, we have. And I was thinking, like, what's a way that we could come in prepared but still write something in real time? So I basically have the song that we're going to put the lyrics on,
Oh, nice.
but we'll write the lyrics in real time.
Okay.
And then I'll figure out how to sing them.
I love it.
So we don't need to try and write lyrics. Let's just write keywords and phrases.
I like that.
That way we don't spend a bunch of
Yeah.
time being like, well, does this one rhyme with that one?
I
or
like
is
this word better than... Yeah.
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 Actually, let me... well... yeah, so what do you want to start with?
That's a good question. I guess, do we want it to be topical of what we're talking about, or do we want something out of left field?
So don't worry about chorus.
I'm just thinking about, like, theme overall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the chorus is going to have to land in Martyr's Row.
True.
So
how do we get to Martyr's Row?
yeah. Well, I think the last two that we've come in with have been like things we talk about.
Yes. Yeah.
So I like moving in that direction.
It's pretty cool.
It honestly took us like 15 episodes to kind of get to the maybe let's now that we have this body of work.
What if we wrote songs that applied?
Yeah. Well, and it's a little bit like, how does a TV show pilot episode have an intro video?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, how does it have a pre-roll? It's like,
yeah,
that doesn't come until a later episode. Well, because they record many episodes. Yeah. So maybe since we've done it now, maybe we just hit a bunch of topics and throw those keywords in.
I like that.
It can kind of be all over the place.
Yeah, we need to have wooden people with no souls in there.
Okay. Why don't we start with that?
Okay, sweet. I'm going to write it down.
Yeah, so Paul's going to write that down. All right, dear listener, here we are writing a song together.
Thank you for joining us.
This is probably not going to make any sense, but we'll get there. I promise that there's at least one payoff.
This is either interesting or not at all.
Yeah. But we've said that about this podcast from the beginning.
Yeah, that's true.
So whoever wants to be here is already here.
Yeah, true.
All right. Stephen rocks, Peter crucified, upside down, John almost buried alive. Not buried.
Boiled
Boiled
I
alive.
love it. Just Steven Rocks.
I didn't even realize.
You start off with Steven's really cool. Paul crucified or Peter crucified.
That doesn't make any sense out of context. I actually don't mind it though.
It's kind of awesome.
Yeah. The funny thing is I did realize that I'm going to sing this different every single time.
That's awesome.
Well, I mean, maybe. Maybe not. All right, so I'm just going to read this exactly as
Just do it. Yeah,
okay.
just do it.
Stephen rocks, Peter crucified, upside down, John almost boiled alive, James Celeste, brains dashed out, Paul and Silas cry. Paul got his head chopped off, Thias beheaded, Philip crucified, Andrew crucified, Jude crucified. All right, we need more lyrics.
I love it because Paul and Silas cried. Paul got his head chopped off.
Oh,
That's good. Okay, let me write some more down.
but keep the three together, so.
I will, yeah.
So the three crucified, move those down, and then write some more above those.
Oh, okay.
Let's write a little bit more.
I'll
above
save those for the end.
Yeah, because that I can actually go. Yeah. I can actually go. Philip, Andrew, Drew, or Philip crucified, Andrew crucified, Drew crucified. and then go into it. Can be the pre-chorus. Yeah.
That'll be good.
So that'll be the pre-chorus.
Okay, who am I missing then?
You're not talking
Who am I
to.
missing?
We're like genuinely just hanging out right now.
I know. I'm gonna try to go through.
We're gonna have to make this next segment short, just for the people listening.
Here, you entertain them. I'm gonna write these out real quick.
Okay. So like, one of the things I was thinking about too is like, as I'm singing that, I was like, this feels very like early REM, which I'm okay with. So this is like songwriting process 101. But we're going to try and do it in like 5 minutes. It's going to end up being like 10 though. Don't get too deep into that, Paul. That is hilarious that I just like, Steven rocks. Josie's on a vacation far away.
That's what I've been thinking of.
Come around and talk it over. You said entertain the people. Now this is just like an open mic.
So this is a song that I really like.
This is the story of a girl. Just get flagged all over the place because of all these songs. All right.
I don't know. How many more do you need? How many more do you want?
That's probably fine.
Okay.
I can honestly make the front part shorter too. But I mean, honestly, write as many as you can because you can just keep going with this.
That's true.
Mesopotamia. I don't think I could sing it at this tempo. Mesopotamia, 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 Mesopotamia. What if I just did that for like 5 minutes while you're doing? So the people that are only listening are like, why is he still doing that?
Why? Like, yeah, 5 more minutes.
And 5 more minutes.
I tried to write these
1 hour
slyly
later.
funny, just to see what you would do with them.
Okay, perfect. So you want me to do it raw again?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, just go for it.
Stephen rocks, Peter crucified, upside down, John almost buried alive, James the Less, brains dashed out, Paul and Silas cried. Paul got his head chopped off, Matthias beheaded, James the Great beheaded too, but Luke has said. Luke was hanged? Oh,
Yeah.
oh!
Yeah,
I jumped.
yeah.
I like lost it for a second.
Yeah, I don't. That's a
That
lot
actually
of words.
worked. Well, what I need to do is, what we need to do is break these up.
Oh, I
So
can
like
do that.
this doesn't need to be one.
Oh, so it's not
full-
one
Let's
giant-
make it 2 verses
Okay.
with the pre-chorus at the end of each one.
Paul and Silas cried was the end of your first. 2, 1.
Yeah, that works because then I can hit the pre-chorus there, and then let's jump to the next one.
Okay.
So then,
Which I guess would be.
yeah, copy and
here.
paste that up, and then This is actually working out great. And then
Okay, sweet.
our bridge section is Mesopotamia,
Yeah.
Mesopotamia, 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 Mesopotamia.
You just go Jack Black on it.
Well, they did write the perfect song.
That's true.
Well,
Unfortunately, they forgot
They
it.
forgot it. That's a previous reference.
I actually like that.
I know. We could do that. A little mic
I got our
stand
bridge
slide.
section right out.
I like that you also don't know what my chorus is.
I have no
The
clue.
thing is the further we get into this, the more this chorus is going to pay off.
I'm so excited.
So I'm going to sing it and not give you the hook.
Okay.
And then once it's like, okay, this works, then I'll
For
sing
a
it straight
full
through
take.
and you'll get the hook.
Okay, I'm excited.
And we may have to do that full take twice just because your reaction may ruin it.
Okay, okay.
Stephen rocks, Peter crucified upside down. John almost boiled alive. James the less, brains dashed out. Paul and Silas cried. Philip crucified, Andrew crucified. Drew was crucified, I mean Jew. I won't leave that in. Paul got his head chopped off, Matthias beheaded, James was great.
It's a lot of words.
That one's really hard.
That's a lot of words.
Yeah.
Should I say, do you mean just James?
Well, it's like, is it Matthias?
Yeah.
Okay. That's almost the same as the pre-chorus. It's like Paul's head chopped off, Matthias beheaded, James beheaded.
Beheaded too.
Yeah. Let me try it one more time, just that part. Paul got his head chopped off, Matthias too. James the Great was beheaded too. Almost. So, Paul got his head chopped off, Matthias, James the Great was... Nope. Paul got his head chopped off, Matthias. I want to say Matthias too.
Matthias and James were beheaded too.
You really are forgetting that we're doing a podcast?
Yeah, I'm just in it.
We're here for it.
Try that. Matthias and James were beheaded too.
Okay. Paul got his head chopped off, Matthias and James were beheaded too. Okay. But Luke got hanged, Barnabas died. Everyone else, they cried.
Okay,
Yeah. Try and rewrite it like that.
Okay.
Dear listener, we are almost there. Hopefully you're enjoying this. We haven't done anything like this in a while. And the last time we did something like this, actually many times that we did something like this, it did not end well. Except for the 10 days of martyrdom. That one is iconic. I don't know what we're going to do with that one.
I don't know if we can outshine that one. That one was magic.
Oh, yeah. All right. Are we close?
Try this?
So, Paul got his head chopped off, Matthias and James were beheaded too. But Luke was hanged, Barnabas died. Everyone else, they cried. Yeah, there we go. Everyone else, they cried.
They cried.
All right, I think I can get that one. So let me do that through with the pre-chorus, and then I'll try and take the song from the top.
Okay,
sweet. Paul got his head chopped off, Matthias and James were beheaded too. But Luke was hanged, Barnabas died. Everyone else, they cried. Philip crucified, Andrew crucified, Jude, he was also crucified. Mesopotamia. Okay. Well, that'll be the bridge. I have a chorus hook.
I just wanted to do it.
Okay. Okay, you ready for the hook?
I'm ready.
I think we're there.
Are you gonna do is it verse pre?
After every pre-chorus, I'm gonna do a chorus.
Okay, sick.
Yeah.
Okay, sick.
So, okay, I think we have enough there that I can find my way through it.
This is like exciting.
This is the longest song section we've done.
Yeah, we're actually writing.
Actually, to be honest with you, the 10 Days of Martyrdom might be longer.
That one was a long one.
Yeah, it was, but it kept getting funnier.
So fun.
I hope it was funny for everybody else.
I hope so too. Otherwise, just us maniacally laughing by ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Let us know you laughed.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Stephen rocks, Peter crucified upside down, John almost boiled alive, James the less, brains dashed out, Paul and Silas cried. Philip crucified, Andrew crucified, Jude was also crucified. Don't you forget about me on Martyr's Row right now. Don't you forget about me on Martyr's Row right now. I almost went to the next one.
I was trying to hold back enough, but I was like, I can't. That was good.
Was that so worth it?
That was
okay.
That was such a good payoff.
I wish I would have gotten through the whole thing. I should have just kept going. But I started getting phlegm in my throat.
That was so good.
Okay, here we go. Let's hit the whole thing.
Oh, man.
You're like, why does he keep doing that intro?
And now I know.
Stephen rocks, Peter crucified upside down, John almost boiled alive, James the less, brains dashed out, Paul and Silas cried. Philip crucified, Andrew crucified, Jude was also crucified. Don't you forget about me on Martyr's Row right now. Don't you forget about me. No, no, no. Oh, oh, oh. Paul got his head chopped off, Matthias and James were beheaded too. But Luke was hanged, Barnabas died, everyone else they cried. Philip crucified, Andrew crucified, Jude was also crucified. So don't you forget about me on Martyr's Row right now. Don't you forget about me. No, no, no. Don't you forget about me on Martyr's Row right now. Don't you forget about me. No, no, no. No, no, no. Mesopotamia, 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 Mesopotamia. Don't you forget about me on Martyr's Row right now. Don't you forget about me. No, no, no. Don't you forget about me on Martyr's Row right now. Don't you forget about me. No, no, no. Mesopotamia, 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 about me on Martyr's Row right now. 3, 2, 1. Paul, don't you ever forget about me.
Don't you do it.
Don't.
Do you myth me?
Is that our question again?
No.
I forgot that. Like,
don't you myth me too much.
Is that how this whole thing started? The myth series?
I think that was
the second week?
I think the second week.
That makes sense.
I think so.
How many have we done? It doesn't matter.
It's like our pastoral service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll wrap it up tonight.
That's what we're aiming to do.
Yeah.
Welcome to the last in our 17-part series.
Myths part last.
Part last. Question mark.
More people need to do that.
Part last. Maybe.
Part last, part 2.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know we'll come back to them.
Yeah.
But we're hoping to be the last of our like focus on it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that like we'll continue going with different like series pieces.
Yeah.
Cuz it helps kind of build some framework.
Absolutely.
And also keep everything in a category.
Yeah, cuz even with this, it is like a high level we've taken even with just myths.
Yeah.
Cuz we could do a deep dive into each of the myths themselves.
Right.
And even the different ones that have developed over time in each culture.
Yeah.
And we're like, let's just take a high level of this and look at the overall picture.
Right.
Yeah.
And like the deep dive stuff, that would be more fun with like a guest.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Like let them deep dive into it.
That'd be so fun.
Because I feel like with the basis of our podcast too, it is a little bit more like let's give framework.
Yeah.
But
so that way it's easier for us to dive into these ideas.
And like let people know like, all right, this is worth spending time on or this isn't.
Yeah.
And if I spend time on it, here's the framework.
Yeah, so I
like
can
level it
shape
out.
my thoughts.
Yeah.
Which actually is a great lead-in for where we're at here today.
Perfect.
Because I think where we're gonna end, or where I'm gonna be taking us,
everything starts where it ends.
Yeah, where I'm gonna be trying to take us today on our episode.
Okay.
Is like let's try to apply the framework that we've been developing.
Let's do it
as we think about this.
Okay.
Okay. Sweet.
So creation, floods.
And now we're at, we did Babel, language diversity.
Language diversity, that's right.
And now
there's
we're
definitely a third
at
one.
knowledge bringer.
So it is the fourth one.
It's the fourth one.
Okay.
Yeah.
That feels like a pretty complete package.
Yeah, which honestly for everyone so far, for you hardcore Christians, you
what does that even mean?
God-fearing Christians.
In the bro space.
In the bro space. Listen, bro.
For you Christian bros out there. All you
just fireworks
all you
going
heavy
up.
Lifting Christian bros. That was not the right sound.
No. I was like trying to do fireworks going off, and then I was like, I'm just gonna do.
You're notorious for the wrong sound, for the wrong wrong time, wrong sound, wrong time.
I got brain dumbness. That's it's a medical
brain dumbness.
Yeah, it's a medical thing.
Oh, tumness.
Oh, tumness.
You've done it again with your pan flute.
Talk about pan flutes.
Oh, wait, how? What? Why?
I don't know. Okay, I just feel like there's a lot in there.
Peter Pan,
the villain of the story.
Yeah, the lucid dreaming episode.
Oh yeah, Pan, the god, pagan god
that lulls you to sleep with his
flute.
Yeah,
which actually we could talk about that at some point. But
Peter Pan.
No,
Peter Pan.
He plays a flute, doesn't he?
We're talking about Disney.
Yeah, we were.
Full circle. We start where we end.
So, knowledge bringer for you hardcore Christians out there.
That's why we got there. Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to bring it back to little kid stuff.
I'll find it. Sometimes. When we say knowledge bringer, that could be maybe like off-putting.
A bringer of knowledge?
It's just like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, true.
Because I think the context we hear that in around like aliens.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? And then we're like, well, no, because God brought all knowledge to people.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, cool.
Godledge.
And so it's like, okay, let's go with that. But now let's look at other cultures.
Yeah.
And see, well, they have a story of, it's the question we were talking about at the beginning, like, how do we know what we know? Yeah. How did we figure this out? Because it's like,
how do I know what I know?
How do I explain to me how I?
How do I know what I know?
The things that I know, how do I know them?
Tell me.
So,
No,
other
really,
cultures.
Tell me, Paul. Tell me right now.
The chicken.
I'm the egg.
I'm the egg. I'm the egg man.
All right, hardcore
I'm the
Christians,
walrus.
you still out there?
Hopefully. Just bear with us here.
I'm the walrus.
Oh, cuckoo.
Bless you.
Thanks. So other cultures want to explain they want to figure this out too. So they have their explanation.
Okay.
For this is how we learned how to do stuff.
Yeah, so like basically saying we didn't come up with this on our own.
Right.
Someone brought this information to us.
Yeah.
Almost every ancient culture, I say almost, but like I say almost because I don't know all the ancient cultures.
Yeah, that's smart.
But pretty much all ancient cultures basically say that they didn't come up with it.
Yeah, someone delivered this information to them.
Yeah. Which
they taught them how
I feel like that's important to say.
Because
that's like the gateway into, well, how many do we know about and what did they say?
Yeah.
Right? But like for all of you hardcore Christians out there, and actually mainly you, because the non-Christians are probably already really know, like in pagan tradition, this is like pretty common.
Even on the other side, like let's just take a stereotypical evolutionist.
Okay.
It's like, no, we just figured it out over time.
What a stereotypical evolutionist.
What a stereotypical evolutionist.
What are you, Luca or something?
What are you, Luca? And it's like, okay, like you can say that.
Yeah.
And maybe that's true.
Yeah.
But not according to their myths.
Right.
Like what their tradition teaches in these cultures say, no, we didn't just keep dying until we figured it out. We actually were taught how to do this, so we didn't just keep dying. Yeah,
and it's weird too, like, and this is the last thing I'll say before we get into it, but it's like many generations later is they almost like put that on the people that they came up with it.
Yeah.
Like a good example of that is the Egyptians and the pyramids.
Yeah.
Like it's really the later generation of Egyptians that's putting it on the ancient Egyptians that they came up with everything.
And they're like, no.
But the ancient Egyptians don't say that.
They don't.
They kind of say that they found a lot of that stuff there.
Which honestly is like, it's current to what's coming out right now.
Right.
Like with the pyramid stuff, but we're not getting into that. But
no.
But even then it's like, yeah, okay, so we're uncovering stuff now and we're realizing, oh, there's actually more to the story than we thought. But it's the story that they've been trying to tell us. The ancients have been telling us. Yeah,
but it's almost like when we grew up in like the 90s and 2000s. Yeah. It was like everyone was just trying to be like, history doesn't go that far back.
Yeah.
And it's actually just simple. Like these people are from here and they came up with everything that's from there.
Yeah.
But that's actually not true.
It's not true.
But it's not just not true. They don't believe that. Like we don't believe that. They don't believe that. But we're told that for some reason. We're teaching that for some reason.
Yeah.
That like knowledge stops with them. They came up with it because of the region that they're from. Not true. That's not part of their tradition.
Well, even like, so I'm from Ohio.
Yes, you are.
As we've said that.
Way too many times.
And we have the Serpent Mound in Ohio.
Yeah.
And if you go there and you read and ask people, they'll be like, oh yeah, the natives, they are the ones who built that.
Right.
But then you talk to them and they're like, we didn't build that.
No,
that was already here.
Yeah, they found it.
And we're like, no, you built it.
Right.
Like,
that's what I mean.
Like, no, we didn't.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Yeah, it's like this weird thing where it's like Native Americans are like, no, we found this stuff.
Yeah.
And then we built around it.
Yeah.
And
that's already here.
That's a perfect like example that we see with the Egyptians and the pyramid.
Yeah. That
it's like, oh, well, we are doing this to them. They're doing it to them. It's like, it's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's weird. It's like it's like we're trying to wipe away the past.
Yeah. Which is funny because even in the pyramids are like, oh yeah, like the Israelite slaves built the pyramids. And we're like, well, that doesn't really make any sense. You're like, yeah, you're right, but it doesn't make sense, but that's what happens.
Right.
We're like, but no, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, but then like there's too much other stuff going on.
There is, yeah. That's a whole side topic, honestly.
Yeah. So everybody just leaves it alone. But yeah. So all that to say, what somebody has told you is the origin of an area or an object or a monolithic structure. If you actually look at that culture, the one that they're saying built it or designed it or created it, most of them will say this was here when we got here.
Yeah.
Or they'll say what, Paul?
Someone taught us.
Someone taught us.
I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So actually, I'm actually going to start with the Mesoamerican, Aztec, and Mayan.
Perfect. Love them.
Because their version of this is probably the most, in my opinion, is the most prominent one.
Okay.
As far as people now might be more familiar with this than some of the others.
A little closer in time, yeah.
Yeah. And so these names might be familiar, which is Quetzalcoatl and Kukulkan.
Yeah.
And so the first one is Aztec and Kukulkan is Mayan.
Kukulkan.
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 Hard words.
Kukulkan.
Quetzalcoatl.
I like that one.
Yeah.
I know that one.
That's a fun one.
It
But their stories are very similar, which is why they're kind of put together here. So
kind of sounds like a duckling.
Yeah.
Like the...
Which actually, funny you say that, because they were feathered.
That's right.
But they were feathered serpent gods.
Very different.
Yeah. Who brought civilization, teaching humans agriculture and writing, medicine, and astronomy.
They were serpent feather gods.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Like quite a adjectives, you know?
Yeah.
And actually, interestingly enough,
Didn't they have...
this is a little like foreshadowing.
Okay. Didn't they have two different forms?
That's a good question, actually. I don't know that off the top of my head.
Okay. What's the foreshadowing?
Quetzalcoatl, he actually opposed human sacrifice,
Oh, interesting.
which is interesting.
Yeah. We know somebody
Yeah.
that did that.
Yeah. Not personally.
I do.
You know someone personally?
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Oh. I thought you
My
meant...
Lord and Savior.
Oh, do you have a minute?
I do know him.
Yeah, I do know him personally as well.
So I actually had this pulled up, which is weird. Because I didn't know you were going to go to that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Keep going.
Okay.
I'll find it.
Yeah, so I'm going to jump all the way over to our favorite, Mesopotamia.
Oh, wait. But these are connected.
Oh, you got it. Okay. Oh, and with Mesopotamia? Which
Yeah.
you have? Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. That's even better. So I'll do you want me to read this, or
Yeah.
are you ready?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So Enki, who we've talked about in the past, he was the one who warned Utnapishtim about the flood
Right.
that Enlil was sending. And so Enki was the god of wisdom, magic, and water, often depicted with flowing rivers and fish. He gifted humanity with knowledge of irrigation, literacy, and divine laws. So what's interesting about this as well is Enki was not the highest god.
Right.
He was a lower god, but he challenged and defiled Enlil, who was a higher god than him.
Right.
Which is why Enlil was the one who sent the flood,
Mhm.
according to the flood myth.
Yeah.
And Enki was the one who kind of thwarted that by allowing Utnapishtim to survive.
Yeah. And Mesopotamia is that region around modern-day Turkey.
Yes.
It's where, like, a ton of stuff happened. We talked about that a lot more on the previous episode.
Yeah.
But, so, going back to Quetzalcoatl.
Yeah.
However you say it. It says he embodied, or it embodied duality, symbolizing both the physical aspect of the serpent and the spiritual aspect of the feathered bird.
Oh, so both of those.
So the serpent feathered bird, the serpent was the physical aspect, and the spiritual aspect was the feathered bird. So it was these...
That's interesting.
Yeah, because it was this, it was like a physical and spiritual manifestation that were blended. Or...
Okay, yeah.
What do I want to say? When two things come together. Blended.
Blended, yeah. A fusion?
Something more menacing. But, yeah, so that's interesting.
Colliding?
But keep going.
Okay. Yeah,
Does it give a physical... is it not inky? Is it inky?
Mm-hmm.
What's the other one?
Enlil.
Enlil. Does it give physical descriptions of them?
It doesn't, but we have depictions of them.
Okay.
Like I don't have one written down.
Yeah.
And you've seen like a lot of Mesopotamian drawings or sculptures. It's got those. They've had like those long curly beards.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like he looks like that. Like these guys usually look more human.
Right.
And so the ones that we really see with kind of like wild features is we'll see it in like Greece or not Greece, sorry, like Egyptian, West African,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously with the Mesoamerican.
Yeah, because the Mesoamerican, they were all around serpents
Yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and they
well,
a lot
and
of their
feathered
a lot of
birds,
their
yeah.
temples had serpents leading the way up and down
Right.
the top and bottom of their temples.
Yeah, and you even see that in North America, like with what you were
Yeah.
just talking about with Ohio, like the
Yeah.
serpent mound, like the serpent is a specific thing.
Yeah.
The spiral of the serpent mounds and
Yeah, and they're all orientated a certain way.
right, based
Um,
on stars and
yes.
alignment.
Which is crazy stuff.
Yeah,
And it's a whole nother topic.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, so actually speaking, I'm actually going to jump to Greece here real quick.
Okay.
So that's the story of Prometheus, which is also pretty common for people. He stole, or pretty familiar. He's
Mainly
the one.
because of Marvel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He stole fire from Mount Olympus and gave it to humanity, symbolizing enlightenment and technology.
Mm.
As punishment, Zeus chained Prometheus to a rock where an eagle ate his liver daily. And that's the story
Yikes.
where, like, every day his liver would regenerate so the eagle could keep eating it. So it's like
That's
this
disgusting.
eternal punishment.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that, actually, no, I'm going to read this next one first before I say
Okay.
what I was about
You
to say.
tie it in.
I'm going to tie it in. So we have another one, which is West Africa. The Nomo were amphibious fish-like beings sent by the supreme god Amma to bring order and knowledge to humanity. They taught the Dogon people agriculture, weaving, and language, and are central to the tribe's complex cosmology. And so what's interesting is so far we see like what they bring to them.
Yeah.
There's a lot around agriculture,
Right.
literacy or writing,
Mm-hmm.
and some understanding of the stars.
Yeah, that makes
It's
sense.
like those seem to
Astrology.
be three central themes to a lot of these. Well, what's interesting.
Wait.
Yes.
So, because this was the other part of the this, like I had only looked this guy up before because I was like, I feel like when we talk about this, I feel like this guy, like what was that guy's name? But it says
Quetzalcoatl.
Quetzalcoatl.
Kind of sounds like a duck, honestly.
Quetzalcoatl. It does. It says
Hey, Quetzal.
he was the god of wind, learning, and culture, which probably agriculture as well.
Yeah.
But culture, anyways,
like civilization.
and was
Yeah.
associated with the dawn and the planet Venus.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
That's very interesting.
So like that's what made me go, oh, I need to go back and read that again because that's Aztec, right?
yeah.
So that one specific to like learning, but also associated with the wind, which is interesting.
That is.
And then also directly associated with Venus.
Yeah.
So like that, like you were saying, because a lot of them have some astrological connection.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some, and it's interesting because even then we see a lot of connections to water.
Right.
There's some kind of element as well.
Yeah, so wind.
There's some kind of elemental side to them.
That's true.
Yeah, and I think that's a very fascinating thing.
It is.
And what's fascinating so far too is I only brought this up so far with the
Rhea. There's a Disney movie called Rhea, and it's all about dragons. And the dragons can play with water. Like they can make it rain or not rain.
Oh, really?
And they like also have these like, it's this whole thing that they have to revive the dragons because the dragons were the protectors of men.
Oh,
and all the dragons are in stone.
Interesting.
And so they have to revive the dragons to save the humans because the dragons sacrifice themselves to. But anyways, the dragons in this movie were they did a lot with rain. Like they could make it rain.
That's
and then
interesting.
They would like run on the rain.
Oh, whoa.
And they were dragons.
Which that was gonna spiral me. I was like, let me hold myself back. I'll say it because even the idea of like what is a dragon and its symbolism throughout cultures.
Yeah,
that's an interesting thing.
Well,
too.
and these dragons, the dragons in this movie are would be more Asian dragons.
Yeah, more the serpent-like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
which is the traditional view of what they looked like.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The medieval dragon that we normally think of is kind of like a newer.
Like a dinosaur.
Yeah. It's kind of a newer mix that we've created.
But I wanted to bring that up because I feel like all these things end up connecting.
No, they really do. I mean, because that's the other thing. It's like when we look at like the symbolism through all these, because someone's like, oh, like the African one, it's like, oh, this amphibious fish-like thing. And it's like, oh, we actually see that in the Mesopotamian one as well, where he's the god of water,
Right.
and he's normally depicted with fish,
Yeah.
or like a fish.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, well, we see these other guys that came out of the water and they were feathered serpents.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, that's a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah. The elements and the connection to the stars. And
it's like there are those connections, but again, it's like depending on the culture and their language and what they deem important and not important, changes how they view what these things look like.
Yeah. And just to remind you guys why we're talking about all these things.
Oh, yeah, fair.
They were all knowledge bringers or associated with things like learning or culture or like agriculture. Or it was the way that it was the tradition of the people that these beings taught them what they know.
Yeah, and it's interesting so far, because we'll continue to see this theme here, is that the stuff that was brought was very similar, and it was the fact that something brought it.
Right.
Someone else brought it.
Yeah, something was brought to them by something.
Yeah, and something is divine.
Right.
So it's like, oh, there's something that is divine or supernatural that brings knowledge.
Yeah.
But it brings like the same knowledge to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's fascinating.
What was the Egyptian one?
That's fascinating. So the Egyptian one, and this one's actually a little bit more rare. And the reason why it's rare is because in these other myths, the one who brings knowledge is typically punished in some way.
Okay.
Or is not looked upon well.
Right.
So even for like the Mesopotamian one, it's like Enki is actually not in the good graces for giving humanity this stuff.
Okay.
But through like diplomacy, he's able to like weasel his way out.
Gotcha.
Prometheus is the only one that like directly is like, yeah, you're getting chained up, bro.
Yeah.
And these other ones, it's like sometimes it's even a group of gods. Sometimes it's just one specific being that brings. But normally they're not looked upon well for having given humanity like agriculture and cosmology and all this.
Yeah.
Except for the Egyptian one, which is Thoth.
Okay.
And so he was actually rewarded for giving humanity wisdom and knowledge.
Thoth.
Yes.
Thoth.
Weird.
Yeah.
Weird. And so he's the ibis-headed god of wisdom. He created writing, which is their hieroglyphs, and granted knowledge of astronomy, medicine, and law. According to legend, the Book of Thoth contained the secrets to the universe, but reading it could drive a person mad or grant them immense power.
Wow.
Like, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, especially in Egypt.
And so, what I find fascinating about that is there does seem to be this element to it. It's like, okay, so even within that, it's like, okay, here's a book that has this supreme knowledge in it.
Right.
And it'll either drive you insane or you'll become too powerful.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, so it's something that is dangerous to people.
Right. It's information that we weren't supposed to have.
Yeah. And we actually see that because in these other myths where the god who gives knowledge isn't looked upon well. Yeah. It's like, well, it's because the other gods don't want humanity to have what they gave.
Sure. Yeah. And I feel like it's important to note that you might be like, well, they just made this stuff up. They like needed something to point it at. Yeah. And you go, why would they need something to point it at? First of all, because second of all, humans have massive egos. They always have. Yeah. And so if a guy came up with the hieroglyphs in Egypt,
I would be writing my name everywhere.
Of course. It's like, I came up with your language, bow at my feet.
Yes.
And the thing is like, that's where you have like the people who disseminate the knowledge out, a lot of times they were seen as gods. Right. The people themselves. Yeah. But they don't claim to have originated any of that stuff.
Well, and that's the other thing that I think counters even the more naturalistic view is like, well, yeah, some guy probably did, and this Thoth guy, he's just a human being who they elevated. It's like, you can say that except for the fact that this happened in every culture.
Yeah, and it's all high priest.
Isolated.
Right. Yeah. It's all high priest stuff. Yeah. It's stuff where it's like this person is a representative or a vessel by which God or gods or beings that are not supposed to give information are pushing it through this individual or these individuals.
And they're giving out information that's within the same categories.
Right.
To every culture. Like every myth is saying, yeah, we figured out how to do these few things.
Right.
Because this one God gave it to us.
Yeah, exactly.
And like that's the same story throughout these different nations.
Yeah.
That are, again, like we've been saying, it's like they're isolated from each other and separated by language and culture, and yet they have the same story.
Yeah. It's fascinating that they're punished for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to spend a little bit of time on this, which is the Indian one.
Okay.
I dove into this one a little bit more because it jumped out at me more evidently than some of these others. It's not that I cherry picked it. I just think it's the most obvious for the point that I'm making here.
Yeah.
And so they actually have several, like many cultures, they actually have several versions of this story.
Cool.
And they do change and develop over time. So it starts off with, and this is the earliest, which is like 1500 BC to 1000 BC.
Okay. Before zero.
Yes.
Before Christ.
Before zero. So to put it in perspective, taking the traditional biblical timeline view.
Okay.
This would be 1500 BC is like
Abraham?
700 years after the flood.
Yeah.
Because the flood was like, they say is like 2300 BC.
Okay.
Somewhere in that area. So this is most likely a little bit after the Babel incident, where then people have time to go off into their own place and settle down.
Yeah, gotcha.
So at that point, between this 500-year period, their knowledge bringer myth, which was oral tradition, was Brahma, who's the creator god. That he was the one who granted wisdom and granted knowledge and information to everybody.
Got it.
So he's the one who originated that. So he's their knowledge bringer.
Yeah.
But then it changes for the next. So from like 1000 BC 1000 BC to 500 BC.
Okay.
About it switches to Saraswati, who is the goddess of wisdom.
Saraswati.
I don't know how to speak Hindi.
I like that.
And so they are like, oh, we can gain wisdom and knowledge and all this from her through meditation.
Got it.
So if we meditate and we do that to her, then we can learn this stuff.
Huh.
So it's like now she's the one who bears the knowledge and gives it to us. It's no longer the creator.
Yeah.
It's this other god.
They say that there are deep forms of
goddess.
meditation that can invoke internal, like biological, what's the word for it? Like stuff like dopamine. What is that? Just like chemicals.
Like a chemical reaction.
Yeah, just like it can induce, like really deep meditation can induce things that put you on what New Age would call a higher plane. Yeah. And can be similar to things like ayahuasca trips. Yeah. Like that's actually legitimate, that like particularly Eastern monks that meditate in very harsh conditions are putting their bodies in a state that their meditation can get them to a place that psychedelic drugs also can get you to. Yeah, so actually I'm going to sidetrack myself down the path that you're going a little bit. Okay. And it's with that, this is and it has to do with the sober-mindedness. Sure. And I think that's the thing that we need to be careful of, especially when we see stuff like this through meditation. It's like, well, why is like that style? Because I have to also say that. It's like that style of meditation of emptying your mind. Well, why is that just as bad as like hallucinogenic drugs and stuff that lowers our inhibitions? And it's like, well, that's why. Because what happens is there are barriers that keep us sober-minded, and that keep us grounded into our world. And so when we relax our brain, when we remove those barriers, then we open ourselves up to a supernatural experience potentially. Right. Which is something we're not supposed to do. Yeah, so 1 Peter 5:6 says, "Humble yourselves therefore under the mighty hand of God, so that at the proper time he may exalt you, casting all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. So turning your attention and focus on him and essentially meditating on the Lord, humbling yourself before him. And be sober-minded. It's cool that it says that because what it's expressing is to essentially meditate on the Lord. But do it sober-minded. Be watchful, because your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. And that comes after saying being sober-minded. So if you're not sober-minded in meditation, but you're using something you're using something secondary that would alter your cognition. Then in that it says your adversary, the devil, is watching for that and is going to pounce on you like a lion. So as soon as you let go of your cognition, and you use those substances, the devil is waiting to jump on you, is what First Peter says.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to say as well, because we haven't like really talked about a lot of these more new age topics and experiences, because we haven't been there. And this kind of is getting kind of leaning to it. This is like the origins of what would be modern day new age. And I guess I just want to say quickly on that until we come back into our topic here is it's like it's important to realize like this is a real thing. It's not like that wasn't just written in scripture to be like, so like this is made up, but you should, be sober minded.
Right.
And it's like, no, like these are real things and real experiences that people go through. And it's important for us, like there are real consequences if we don't listen.
For sure.
And if we're not vigilant in that. So
that's cool.
And I think it actually ties right back into this, because this is what we see here. So it's like, so what's happening is originally it's like, okay, let's get our knowledge from the creator. From, as they would call the Brahma. And then they go, actually, no, let's get our knowledge from a lesser goddess. Not the creator. Let's get it from the goddess of wisdom, as we're calling her.
Right.
And then what do we see next, over the next about 800 years? This is when we have Buddha, when he starts to emerge. And what is his response to these 500 previous years of let's get our knowledge from something other than the creator? It's no, actually, you can discover enlightenment yourself through self-actualization, through aestheticism. Aestheticism?
Close.
What's the word?
I don't know
how to pronounce it. Basically, through extreme self-discipline and like harsh conditions. Like, think of like an isolated monk. Like, put yourself through these extreme situations so that way you can self-actualize.
Right.
Because you're the one who has the knowledge, and we don't need these other things anymore. You have it within you.
Which is I went to a word I don't want to say. A falsifying or an imitation of where Paul talks about, the Apostle Paul talks about the suffering leads to perseverance. And those who persevere to the end will be saved. And instead, Buddha is basically saying, no, in and of yourself, you yourself can put yourself into suffering. So put your body, put yourself into positions of suffering. So cause suffering to yourself. In order to, essentially, he doesn't use this language, but I'll use Christian language. Put your flesh down. Or subdue your physical body in order to reach states of enlightenment.
Well, so you can focus on your spiritual. Right. Because it's that...
It's almost like leave the physical into the spiritual.
And I think that's the danger, again, going back to New Age.
Right.
In that teaching, is we are soul and body.
Right.
And so if we neglect one, we set ourselves up to be in a bad position. And it's like, and I think that's another way of saying what we've been saying these past 17 episodes. Is if we focus solely, or the beginning of this myth series, if we focus solely on the natural side, we miss the spiritual. We
Right.
focus solely on the spiritual, we miss the natural.
Well,
And we deny a part of ourselves.
and if you step into the spiritual space
Yeah.
by putting your body through suffering without the armor of God,
Yeah.
then your adversary, the devil, is waiting
Yeah.
like a prowling lion.
Yeah.
So that's a problem.
I mean, think about it. It's like going into the ocean to fight a shark. It's like you're going to lose every time.
yeah, unless you're armored up.
Yeah. Because you're in his domain. You're not supposed to be there.
Yeah.
You don't go there in your own terms.
And the mistake is people going there thinking
yeah.
that they're reaching enlightenment, or they're going there thinking that maybe this doesn't exist, but maybe it'll make my life better somehow.
Yeah.
And then what are they doing at that point? They're
Yeah.
receiving knowledge, but does the knowledge bring life, or does it bring death?
And that's exactly the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so moving on from then, because we see in these next few years, and actually it kind of sits there for a while
Yeah.
within these beliefs and ideas, where it kind of switches between these teachings. But so we see like a reemergence of Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom.
Yeah.
I don't know how to actually pronounce it, so I'm just doing
It's
my
funny
best.
that it goes back and forth.
Yeah.
Like a guy shows up
yes.
and goes, I don't listen to the lady.
And they're like, let's listen to her a little bit.
Yeah.
But what changes is how they approach her. Because it's like, oh no, there is like a higher level that I can reach.
It's on the other side of Buddha.
And and I can start to do that through self-actualization, but it leads me to this.
Okay.
And then we see there's a group of saints that pop up. And then even now it's like human and divine sources. So it's like, oh, you can find this higher plane. You can learn this knowledge through not through this extreme discipline anymore, but you can do it through mantras, through meditation, through yoga. And it's a mixture of human and divine.
Yeah.
So it's like Buddha's like it's only human, and then it's like no, it's actually divine. It's like, oh, it's actually both. We can learn both.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this remixing of belief in there.
True.
But then it softens up a little bit. Like you can just do yoga and reach it.
Yeah.
So why do I bring all that up?
Why do you bring that up, Paul?
It's a good question.
Yes.
That's the title. Why do you bring this up?
Paul, why do you bring this up?
Well, especially because we're talking about knowledge bringers, and in this we're kind of talking about where the knowledge bringer myth originated in India, and then how it evolved over time.
Sure.
And the reason why I wanted to focus on that is because the one myth that's missing in here that I haven't brought up yet is where's the Hebrew myth?
I was wondering.
Yeah.
Because we've been starting with the Hebrew myth.
Yeah, and I was wondering if you'd noticed that. I intentionally left it out.
Okay.
And you know what's funny is because...
That's why I kept feeling like I needed to insert some Bible in there.
Yeah. Which I'm glad you did. I'm very glad you did. And so this might be a weird question for people to think about. Might take people off guard. Because honestly, when I think about it, when someone says, what's the Bible knowledge bringer myth? And it's like, or what's the Hebrew knowledge bringer myth?
Are we about to start a whole new episode?
I'd be like, how much time do we have?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. Well, this very well could, and I kind of want to use this as a launching point.
Okay. Let's do that.
What I will say is the Bible not only has a knowledge bringer myth, but it has 3 that I can identify.
Okay. Are you waiting for me to...
Can I say them? I'm not sure if I should be wrapping up or just kind of not speed through this, but...
Yeah, I think we should wrap it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me say this to tease.
Okay.
And then kind of set up where I think we'll probably end up going.
Yeah, because in some ways...
I do want to wrap up our myth side here.
Yeah.
And so let's wrap it up by leading into something cool.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Okay, cool. So the first knowledge bringer myth that we see in creation is the creation of man, when God then comes down and him and Adam create together.
Yeah.
And we see Adam and God walking, 4 myths.
Okay.
I'm adding that one in now. Or just have another one. So it's like, well, what happened there? And it's like, yes, this is a little bit speculative, but I don't think it's that far out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
When it's like, if Adam and God are walking in the garden together, like, what are they doing? What are they talking about? We already know that they created together.
Sure.
It's like, why would it be out of the realm of possibility that him and God were God was teaching him things.
Yeah.
I mean, like, hey, I created you to take care of this garden.
Right.
Now let me show you how to do agriculture.
Right.
Let me show you how to steward the earth.
Yeah.
Let me tell you how I require this to look.
Sure.
And so it's like, I think that's where we even see, and that's again, like we see in the Indian myth, where did knowledge originate? It originated with the Creator.
Yeah.
He taught us how to do it.
Yeah.
But then what do we see not too long after this account in Genesis is we see Genesis 3.
Right.
Where this, up to this point, a normal spiritual being, this serpent,
Yeah.
comes up and says, hey, you see that? You should take that knowledge.
Right.
And so when we see the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, as we like to say it, I'm even going to go ahead and just say, because I know we're wrapping up, I think there's a strong potential, there's a strong case to be made that it's not an actual tree, but it's a representation, especially when you look through like ancient Near East symbolism of trees.
Yeah.
And how they symbolize knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, the serpent was saying, hey, I want you to partake in this forbidden knowledge.
Yeah.
I want you to enjoy something you're not supposed to enjoy.
Yeah.
And what do? It's like, well, they succumb to that.
Right.
And then God's like, oh my goodness. And then we see what happens. And then we get to Genesis 6, and that's where it kind of ties in with Enoch a little bit.
Yeah.
With this, which is a Hebraic
Yeah.
Tradition. And there it's like, oh yeah, here's these divine beings that come down and teach men forbidden knowledge.
Right.
And Enoch's like, let me help set this straight through. God's like, let's set this straight. Here's more, like, figure this out.
Yeah.
And then we see the flood. And then what happens then is we see Genesis 11, which connects to Deuteronomy 32,
right,
with Nimrod and the Tower of Babel.
Yeah.
And then as a result of that, God's splitting the nations. And
dividing them out, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, well, in all these moments, what are we seeing? We're seeing that God divided the nations by the number of the sons of God to help them, help the people in how to do agriculture and how to learn writing. It's like these things were learned and developed, but it's a response to these moments that we see throughout history.
Yeah.
Where we learn rightly from the correct source, and then we divert. And we have to learn it again,
right,
and then we divert, and then we have to learn it again, and we divert.
Yeah,
and it keeps happening up until we get to the point where we have redemption through Christ.
Yeah.
And we have His Word. He's like, I don't have to do it again because I wrote it down this time.
Yeah.
And now here it is. You have it.
Yeah.
Just take this.
Well, and the knowledge given did not originate with us.
No.
It did not originate with the writers of the text.
Yeah.
We believe that it was authored and given to us by God Himself.
Yeah.
Through divinely inspired, written down or cataloged, right? Which is not unusual because even people now would dictate. So the Bible is God dictated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not like some guy was like, "Oh, I'm inspired today. I'm gonna write." You know?
Yeah.
Inspired by God is God dictating.
So that's another conversation too.
Yeah. Well.
Another one.
To be fair, you mentioned like 10 episode topics.
I did.
And
that's why I was like I kind of want to tease it.
3 minutes.
Because it kind of pushes us out of our myth series here.
It does.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Which is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I also want to set it up in like, here are like key moments that are Scripture's response to like the divine did bring knowledge.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And we see different players of who that came from and what happens when man falls for the wrong forbidden knowledge.
Yes.
And even can we talk about that word for a second?
Forbidden knowledge?
Yeah.
Which one?
I think when forbidden
or
I
knowledge?
think when like especially as Western Americans we
Wait,
hate
which word?
Forbidden.
Okay.
It's like, I was like, that's what I was like, yes, that one.
I kept saying though.
I thought I said so. In my head I was like, But it's like I think especially as Western Americans, when I hear I'm not allowed to learn something, I'm like, well, I should.
Yeah.
And again, it's like, not again because I haven't said it once, but I think it's important.
Well, it's the whole premise of our podcast.
Yeah, true. But I think it is important to be like, even the serpent, it's like he wasn't saying here's something that's evil,
right?
And even for us, it's like it's not this this knowledge is evil,
right?
It's not for us.
Yeah.
And we know that. It's like we see that with even magic. And God's like, I'm not saying it's not real. I'm saying it's not for you.
Yeah. True. Yeah, and I think as you look at that, like when you say the Hebraic background, that would also include it would include Judaism, it would include Islam, and it would include Christianity.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
all of those things would come back to this. So there's 3 major religions
Absolutely. Yeah.
that would basically say like our knowledge does not come from us but given to us by God.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we kind of fall into like that goes back to the myth structure of the true myth, to use that language, is you see it in similar stories all over the earth in different timelines.
Yeah.
And so what we would want to get into is essentially you go, all right, these myths are all saying pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
But there's one through line that we are speaking out of the one true God, Yahweh. And when we look at that and then we look at all of the other myths, it's actually pretty clear to us as we discuss and we look at these different things that there's one in the middle of it all that everything is bouncing off of, or there are deceptions created in order to imitate the actual true myth.
Yeah.
And so all of these things, so essentially all of these other myths and things going on, they're all rooted in truth, and they are all in some ways as real as the myths and the stories and the truths that are within Christianity.
Yeah.
And however, they all are trying to be what the true one actually is.
Yeah.
And each one of them would say that. So that's the funny thing is
absolutely
like what we're saying, each one of these traditions would say it about all other traditions.
Yeah.
And so that's something that we have to reconcile and start to talk about the depth of and unpack what that looks like and kind of go, all right, well, let's answer the question against, all right, let's take this myth path and go, does it result in death or does it result in life? Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So that's where we would say
great.
that the Christian myth, if you want to call it that, being the stories and the history of a culture that involve supernatural events or beings. Yeah. That particular myth does it result in life or does it result in death? And even the gods in the other myths that bring knowledge are punished. Yeah. Or there's some retribution. Or the people that receive the knowledge are punished. Yeah. Instead, with Yahweh, those that receive the knowledge gain life.
Yeah, the knowledge through God.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
because we see death when they receive knowledge through anything other.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is an explanation of all the other myths.
Exactly. And that's why I think it's so comprehensive and how it, I mean, as you said, like our bias is definitely on the Bible.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think what I said this on the last one, and I'll say it again because I think it's worth repeating.
Yeah.
Is that when we've been reading through these categories of myths and comparing them and contrasting them, it's not to say this proves the Bible's right, that it's the right one. If anything, it proves that there's a history here that we maybe need to consider. There's something else, which is good for us. Yeah. And it's good for us because that means there's something that we can start to reason and see patterns in reality for.
Yes.
And so with that, it's like, okay, now we have something as, Western thinkers. Yeah. It's like, okay, now we can start to test it. Yeah. And exactly what you're saying. Does it lead to life or does it lead to death?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that this is actually like a good setup and foundation of what does everything else look like? Yeah. And how does the Bible respond to that? Yeah. Yeah, and so that's kind of what we got into a little bit even before we got into myths, looking at how the Bible itself is not necessarily saying this is how everything was created.
Yeah.
But instead it's responding and saying, you're close, but this is actually what happened.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily saying, and then everything was created. It's like, hey, you guys think it's this. You think it's this. Here's what it actually is.
Yeah.
Like, let me take your myth here and your myth here, and I'm going to pull just the truth out of it and put it right here.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what the Bible is. That's what I believe.
I believe that as well.
Is that there's all these myths that existed, and you go, well, what about Mesopotamia? Okay, yeah, so that stuff, a lot of that stuff traditionally is much older. And we literally see it.
Yeah.
You see it in Genesis. We talked about that. You see it in Genesis in the creation story that it's contrasting to these other myths.
Yeah.
And it's saying, all right, here's what they say over here, but here's the actual truth. This is a deception.
Yeah.
And it comes from lowercase g gods. These aren't who they say they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think we're gonna keep going specific now outside of world myths.
Yeah.
And jump back into.
Let's jump back into our beloved.
Yeah. And I really want to talk about trees.
I do too. That's also why I wanted to set it up.
Okay.
Because should we ask the question here at the end, or should we save this question for the next episode?
Let's just say it has something to do with trees.
Trees.
We're going to discuss
what are they?
Trees.
What, are they made of wood or something?
What is this, a tree or something?
Are they people with no souls?
Are they just made of wood?
What is wood anyway?
What is wood?
What's the deal with all the trees?
Oh, myths. You've been fun.
You've been fun. I'll myth you.
We'll myth you, myth.
That'll be the title.
Myths. We'll myth you.
We'll myth you.
And 3, 2, 1.